picture a retired Boeing 747 sitting out there in a desert airplane graveyard.
Yeah, like out in the Mojave or somewhere.
Right, exactly. The paint is peeling, dust is blowing across the windshield. To most people just driving by, it's honestly just scrap metal waiting to be melted down.
Just a giant paperweight,
Yeah,
basically.
totally. But today, we're looking at a blueprint that transforms this exact rusty plane into, well, the world's most powerful, decentralized AI laboratory.
And we are looking at a truly fascinating stack of documents today for this deep dive. It's a pitch for something called the SkyMesh protocol.
SkyMesh, yeah.
Right. It was designed by an architect known in the documents simply as SK. And this pitch was aimed squarely at Google's leadership.
And our mission today is to really unpack this master protocol. We're going to explore how, stringing together 400 tablets can turn a commercial airliner into a self-funding supercomputer.
Which is wild.
It is. And we'll look at how a robot arm completely bypasses decades of aviation regulations. Plus, we will uncover why this entire aviation strategy is actually, and this is the crazy part, a massive Trojan horse to build a brand new operating system for the entire physical world.
Yeah, to really grasp the scale of this, we have to look past the novelty of, just a smarter airplane.
Right, it's bigger than that.
Way bigger.
Yeah.
The core of this pitch is about solving the massive infrastructure and energy costs of modern AI.
Because right now, running complex AI requires building these colossal, power-hungry, centralized data centers, right?
Exactly. Centers that just drain entire power grids. So SkyMesh proposes an alternative turning existing physical spaces into decentralized data centers.
Okay, let's unpack this, because to understand how you turn a scrap 747 into a supercomputer, we first have to look at the brain powering this whole system.
The hardware is incredible.
It really is. The core of SkyMesh is 400 high-performance aviation-grade tablets, which the documents call PADs.
PADs, yeah.
Right. And they're linked together via fiber optics. And when you link them, they create this massive 12.8 terabyte shared memory pool.
And that shared memory pool is absolutely crucial because in a normal setup, if you have 400 computers, they each have their own small pool of memory,
Yeah, they're separate.
Right. And they have to constantly send data back and forth, which creates lag. But by using fiber optics to unify them, these 400 tablets act as one single gigantic brain.
So no bottleneck.
Exactly. It allows them to hold incredibly massive AI models completely locally, and that leads to, honestly, the most important feature of this architecture. It operates completely offline.
Wait, entirely offline?
Entirely. You could be flying over the middle of the Pacific Ocean with zero internet connection, and you still have this lag-free, super-powered AI running right there on the aircraft.
Okay, but putting a massive, powerful AI in charge of a commercial airliner sounds like a sci-fi disaster waiting to happen.
Oh, sure. The safety concerns are massive.
I mean, if the AI hallucinates, or like if someone hacks the in-flight entertainment system, you really do not want them getting access to the rudder controls.
No, you definitely don't. And that is exactly why SK designed what the pitch calls the Gemini dual system architecture.
Gemini, like the twins.
Right. It's a completely physically separated two-part brain. First, you have System A. You can think of it as the cerebellum.
Okay, the cerebellum, what does that handle?
It handles flight control, safety, and life support. And it intentionally uses what the documents call mature, highly reliable chips.
So not the bleeding edge stuff.
Exactly. Older processors that have been tested for millions of hours and are proven to basically never fail.
That makes sense.
Yeah. It also uses solid-state batteries, which physically cannot catch fire because they don't have the flammable liquid electrolytes that you'd find in standard lithium-ion batteries.
That's not smart.
And most importantly, System A operates completely air-gapped from the outside world. There's no Wi-Fi receiver, no Bluetooth. It is completely isolated.
Okay, so System A is the survival brain.
Yes.
Then you have System B, the cerebrum. This handles the generative AI, the in-flight entertainment, rendering custom movies for passengers in real time.
The fun stuff.
Exactly. And for this, it uses the absolute latest Google Tensor chips. And the plan is to physically swap those chips out every 3 years, right?
Yeah, so the entertainment is always cutting edge.
Okay, I like to think of this dual system like a nightclub. System B is the wild dance floor, where all the fun, unpredictable, heavy processing AI stuff happens.
I like that analogy.
Right. But System A is the massive, completely unbribable bouncer at the door.
Yep.
If System B gets out of hand, or tries to run a bad line of code that asks for too much power, System A can literally physically cut the connection.
And the mechanism it uses to cut that connection is just brilliant. It uses Google's Apollo optical circuit switches.
How do those work?
Well, in normal computer, a connection is cut by software telling a digital gate to close. But, software can be hacked.
Right. Anyone with a laptop and enough time can bypass software.
Exactly. But an optical circuit switch uses tiny, physical microscopic mirrors to bounce beams of light carrying the data.
Wait, literal mirrors?
Literal mirrors. If System A detects an anomaly in System B, it physically moves the mirror. The beam of light shoots into empty space.
Wow.
Yeah, the connection is entirely severed. It makes it mathematically and physically impossible to hack from one system to the other because a hacker cannot write code to jump across a physical gap of empty air.
The physical gap, that provides a literal physical Berlin Wall between the entertainment software and the plane's flight controls.
Exactly.
Okay, so the brain is incredibly secure. But here is where my head really started spinning. How do you actually get this cutting-edge AI to fly a 50-year-old airplane?
Yeah, that's the big question.
Because aviation red tape is notoriously thick. If you want to replace a single analog dial with a digital screen on a commercial jet, you have to spend years and millions of dollars proving to the FAA that the screen won't freeze in midair.
It's a massive headache.
Right. So you can't just rip out the dashboard and wire an AI directly into a 747's delicate 50-year-old internal electronics.
You really can't. And SK's solution to that regulatory nightmare is the non-invasive strategy.
Non-invasive.
Yeah. They don't wire the AI into the plane at all. Instead, the system uses physical robot arms sitting right there in the pilot seats.
Just sitting in the seat.
Just sitting in the seat. The robot pushes the physical buttons and pulls the physical levers, while an array of high-definition cameras reads the analog dials on the dashboard, just like human eyes would.
Okay, hold on. I have to push back on this.
Go for it.
I'm picturing a mechanical robot arm forcefully yanking on a rusty 1970s throttle lever. Isn't a robot going to snap those brittle plastic switches right off the dashboard?
That was actually the primary hurdle they had to solve in phase 1 of the project, which takes place entirely on the ground.
Okay, how'd they do it?
They equip the robot arm with incredibly delicate, high-resolution pressure sensors. The AI isn't just taught the coordinates of where a button is, it's taught the tactile feedback of the old switches.
They can feel it.
Exactly. The robot spends thousands of hours just touching the dashboard. It learns the precise amount of resistance required to turn a specific dial. It learns to feel for the mechanical click so it knows exactly when to stop applying pressure.
Wow, so it's basically developing a sense of touch.
Yep.
And because it's a physical robot sitting in a seat, interacting with the existing, already approved dashboard, it completely bypasses the need to recertify the airplane's avionics.
That's the genius of it.
It essentially turns a regulatory nightmare into a simple carry-on equipment classification. It's legally treated like a really heavy, really smart passenger.
Precisely. Now, installing this entire hardware package, the tablets, the robot, the fiber optics, it costs roughly 150 million yen.
Which is about 1.5 million US dollars per plane.
Right. And at first glance, spending $1.5 million to outfit an old 747 sounds pretty steep. But the documents show it's an ultra-premium passenger setup.
Like luxury level.
Very much so. They are outfitting the cabin with OLED screens, spatial audio, titanium frames. They even include projection mapping that turns the interior cabin walls into giant virtual windows.
Oh, so passengers can see a real-time augmented reality view of the sky outside. That's incredible.
It really is. And crucially, that 1.5 million package includes a massive safety upgrade, too. It includes thermal CCD cameras integrated directly with System A, our safety bouncer.
Right.
These aren't normal smoke detectors. These cameras can detect the microscopic heat signature of, say, a failing passenger laptop battery or a tiny short circuit in the wiring.
How does it do that without smoke?
By reading the temperature delta at a molecular level, it detects the heat spike before smoke even appears. And if it sees that spike, it triggers an autonomous pinpoint fire extinguisher.
So it puts the fire out before anyone in the cabin even smells burning plastic.
Exactly.
Okay, so you have a highly secure AI, a tactile robot that can manipulate the controls without breaking them, and a cabin that actively prevents fires.
Right.
But the system still has to actually learn the physics and aerodynamics of flying the plane. And the roadmap they outlined to get there is just a masterclass in scaling down to scale up safely.
Oh, definitely. Phase 2 moves the robot out of the Park 747 and into a full-motion Google Flight Simulator.
Okay, why a simulator?
This is where the AI experiences millions of catastrophic emergencies. Dual engine failures, lightning strikes, total hydraulic loss. It runs through these scenarios at warp speed, so it always knows the perfect, calm sequence of buttons to push.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But a simulator's still just a highly controlled environment, right?
Exactly. A simulator can't perfectly replicate the chaotic, unpredictable variables of actual weather. So for Phase 3 and 4, they move out of the simulator and into a real tiny Cessna 172.
Okay, a Cessna.
Yeah. The robot sits right next to a human flight instructor to learn the actual feel of real wind, real turbulence, the physical pushback of the yoke during a steep turn.
So it's getting that real-world sensory input.
Right. And the goal is for the robot to take a mock FAA oral exam and log solo flight hours, with the human instructor acting strictly as a legal safety monitor, keeping their hands completely off the controls.
Okay, hold on. I'm trying to picture the logistics of this.
Sure.
We established earlier that the brain of this system is 400 heavy aviation-grade tablets linked by fiber optics.
Yes, the PAs.
Right. A Cessna 172 is a tiny four-seater plane. The weight of 400 tablets, the cooling systems, the server racks, the robot itself. I mean, that plane is going to be thousands of pounds over its maximum takeoff weight.
It would be way too heavy.
It isn't getting off the runway. What am I missing here?
The weight constraints of a small aircraft are exactly why SK introduces the remote brain concept for this phase.
Remote brain.
Yeah. Those 400 tablets do not go inside the Cessna. They stay securely on the ground in a cool, quiet data center.
Oh, okay.
They connect to the robot inside the Cessna via a dedicated sub-10 millisecond 5G or 6G wireless link. The heavy thinking, the complex navigation, the weather analysis happens on the ground, and the commands are beamed up to the robot instantly.
But what if the plane flies through a dead zone? Like, if you lose that wireless link even for 2 seconds while you were coming in for a landing, the plane crashes, right?
That's where the dual system architecture shines again, specifically adapted for this remote setup. While the massive cerebrum is on the ground doing the heavy lifting, a small brain, just a few Google Tensor chips, stays physically inside the Cessna with the robot.
Okay, what does the small brain do?
This small brain doesn't know how to navigate across the country, but acts exactly like a human spinal cord. It handles split-second involuntary reflexes.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. If a sudden gust of wind hits the wing or if there's severe turbulence, the small brain instantly adjusts the ailerons to keep the plane level. It doesn't need to ask the ground servers for permission to stabilize the aircraft.
So if the 5G signal drops entirely, the small brain just keeps the plane flying straight and level until the connection is restored.
Exactly. It just holds steady.
Okay, so the plane can fly safely, adapt to turbulence, and handle emergencies. But flat time is only half the story in aviation.
Oh, absolutely.
A 747 spends hours, sometimes entirely overnight, just sitting at the gate doing absolutely nothing. If we have a massive 12.8 terabyte brain on board, what is all that computing power doing while the passengers are boarding or the plane is just parked?
This is where the business model of SkyMesh turns out to be, frankly, mind-blowing.
It really is.
This is exactly where the economics of that $1.5 million price tag start to make total sense.
Yeah.
Because when that 747 is parked at the gate and plugged into ground power, System B's 200 tensor chips aren't just sitting idle.
They're still running.
Right. Those chips represent roughly 14 PETA-OPS of processing power.
And just to put 14 PETA-OPS into perspective, PETA stands for quadrillions of operations per second.
It's massive.
We are talking about the equivalent computing power of stringing together thousands of top-tier gaming computers.
Yeah.
I mean, you could render an entire high-definition animated movie in hours instead of weeks.
Exactly. So instead of turning off, that massive computing block is instantly repurposed into a distributed global computing network.
Like a server farm on wheels.
Yeah. Ad agencies, animation studios, or AI researchers who need massive amounts of processing power can route their tasks right to the parked airplane. The plane performs AI rendering, data processing, or machine learning tasks, generating what the pitch calls SkyMesh coin in exchange for the work.
It's essentially like turning your empty house into an Airbnb while you're at work, but instead of renting out space, you're renting out raw processing power.
That's a great way to put it.
And the math in the documents suggests a single parked plane can earn anywhere from $2,400 to over $6,000 a day, just sitting there crunching numbers.
And if we look at the broader corporate strategy, it answers the question of why Google would be the target for this pitch in the first place.
Right, why them specifically?
Well, Google has been aggressively expanding its Web3 cloud infrastructure. And Web3 relies on decentralized nodes, thousands of independent computers sharing the load, rather than one giant server farm owned by a single entity.
Okay.
By setting up a separate SkyMesh coin company to act as a proxy and handle the crypto side, Google gets a massive, decentralized physical infrastructure they desperately want.
Without the regulatory mess.
Exactly. Because they are using a proxy company, they avoid the severe regulatory headaches and SEC scrutiny of issuing a cryptocurrency token themselves.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the airline loves it because the crypto generated by the plane pays for its own parking fees at the gate, its routine maintenance, and it even pays for those 3-year chip upgrades.
The plane literally pays for its own existence.
That is wild. So we've established that this is a brilliant system for aerospace economics, but the architect's true masterstroke, and this is the part of the blueprint that completely reframes the entire project, isn't about aviation at all.
No, it's not.
It's about using the extreme, rigorous safety requirements of the sky to conquer the ground.
This is the Trojan horse of the SkyMesh protocol. SK outlines this double license negotiation strategy.
The license, okay.
Yeah. He plans to give Google the aviation rights essentially for free. He's just asking for a multi-million-dollar annual activity fee and some Alphabet stock in exchange for letting Google rapidly make this the global standard in the sky.
Which sounds like a steal for Google.
It does. But the crucial caveat in the contract is that SK keeps the exclusive rights to use the SkyMesh architecture on the ground.
Sacrificing short-term licensing fees in the aviation sector to own the foundational blueprint for the entire physical world.
Exactly.
Let's look at what they call the cinema application. They want to take this exact same 400-tablet architecture into movie theaters.
It's a crazy concept.
Picture a theater with 238 tablets integrated right into the seats and walls. A customized AI character the documents mention using familiar IPs like Mario or Disney's Crush. The turtle can individually speak to audience members before the show.
Yeah.
And because the theater is running on that massive 12.8 terabyte shared brain, the movie itself isn't a static video file anymore. System B analyzes the audience's reactions, their micro-expressions, their volume.
Right.
If the crowd is getting bored during an action scene, the AI literally generates a larger explosion or changes the movie's ending in real time to spike engagement.
It changes the fundamental nature of media from passive consumption, just sitting and watching a screen, to active generative participation. The environment reacts to you.
That is mind-blowing.
And the applications go far beyond entertainment. SK also details an office application.
Okay, how does that work?
Imagine creating the ultimate ransomware-proof corporate office. Highly sensitive corporate data, trade secrets, and financial records live entirely in the offline, air-gapped System A.
The vault.
Right, the vault. Meanwhile, System B AI agents handle the surface-level daily tasks, drafting your emails, managing your schedule, browsing the internet.
So even if an employee makes a mistake and clicks a bad phishing link in an email, the hackers only get into the dance floor of System B.
Exactly. They are physically trapped there.
And then the bouncer System A detects the intrusion, flips the microscopic optical mirror, severs the connection, and keeps the company's core vault completely isolated.
The underlying philosophy here is an absolute masterclass in market penetration. Because SK knows that selling a radical new AI infrastructure to a risk-averse hospital board or a corporate bank is incredibly difficult.
Oh, absolutely. They don't want to be the guinea pig.
Right. But if the system is proven tough enough and reliable enough to safely fly a commercial 747 at 30,000 feet with hundreds of souls on board, well, licensing it for a self-driving city bus, a smart hospital, or a corporate office building is an incredibly easy sell.
You just walk into the hospital boardroom and say, hey, this is the exact same architecture that lands commercial airliners.
Exactly. The debate over whether the system is safe and reliable is over before it even begins.
It's the ultimate credential. Okay, let's take a breath and recap this journey because we have covered a massive amount of ground and sky.
We really have.
We started with a scrapped, rusting 747 out in the desert. We looked at a dual-brain architecture that physically separates the heavy processing AI from the critical life support systems using microscopic mirrors.
Yep.
We visualized a delicate robot arm, learning the tactile clicks of old analog switches to bypass decades of red tape. We watched a Cessna learn to fly using a remote brain and a digital spinal cord.
Right.
And ultimately, we unpacked a self-funding computing network that uses tarmac downtime to redefine not just aviation economics, but interactive movie theaters and ransomware-proof office security.
The essential takeaway here is that this pitch is not just a clever way to upgrade planes, it's a comprehensive vision for the future of how AI integrates into the physical spaces all around us.
Which is huge.
Right now, we are relying on massive centralized data centers that require billions of dollars and just vast amounts of water and electricity to power our AI. SkyMesh is proposing a decentralized future, utilizing the spaces, the seats, and the power sources we already interact with every single day, turning passive, dumb environments into active, intelligent meshes.
And there is one final, really provocative thought hidden in the sources that I want to leave you with. The documents briefly mention a BYOD policy, bring your own device.
Okay.
Passengers can bring their smartphones and connect to the plane's local mesh without using external satellite internet like Starlink. It does this by using local Thread and Matter protocols.
And just for context, Thread and Matter act as the universal language for smart devices. It's essentially a much smarter mesh network cousin to Bluetooth.
Okay, right.
It allows devices to talk directly to each other and share data without needing to route through a central Wi-Fi router or the cloud.
Right. It syncs your phone directly into that 12.8 terabyte brain sitting in the cabin.
Oh.
So if SkyMesh becomes the standard architecture for planes, and then for cinemas, and then for offices, imagine a future where you never actually need a traditional cell tower or an internet service provider again. What if every office building you enter, every autonomous car you pass on the street, and the smartphone in your pocket automatically links together using those local protocols to form a giant, self-healing, offline supercomputer?
That is wild to think about.
You wouldn't just be using the internet to look at a screen. Your devices, and the physical environment around you would literally, physically be the internet.
It's a profound shift. It moves computing power out of the server farm and embeds it seamlessly into the fabric of daily life.
So the next time you look up and see a plane crossing the sky, or you drive past one of those old, dusty 747s parked out in the desert, just remember you might not be looking at an airplane at all. You might be looking at the first node of the new world.